Hi everyone, this is Christian with Rana Property Group, and today I will be walking through our amortization table. And what this spreadsheet allows us to do is we are able to see exactly what our debt service schedule will be depending on whatever terms a lender gives you. So starting off with the interest rate calculation that we have here, this table here, we can select the interest rate type, whether that's fixed or variable. And then we can also choose the interest calculation type. So here we have 30 over 360, and we also have the option to calculate it based on actual or 360, again, reflecting exactly what a lender will issue to you in a term sheet. Next, of course, since we have a variable option here, we have an index. And so right now we see that we have a SOFR curve and we're able to input the SOFR curve here. We also have a spread, which will give us an indicative rate. And we see that populating here in one of our supporting schedules, which I'll get to. And then we also have the fixed interest rate, which of course we have the model set to look at fixed interest rate payments, so set to 8%. And then finally, we have the first payment date. And again, this will just be something that is included in the loan docs, and you can input this here directly. Next, we have prepayment penalty. Of course, if you are doing a deal and you end up prepaying the loan before the loan term, there's going to be a penalty. We can input an assumption here of, let's say, 1%. And this will only populate if our payoff month, which we have here in cell E20, is different than the loan term. So a 10-year loan term times 12 gives us 120 months. So because this is being paid off in month 120, there's no prepayment penalty. But if I were to adjust this to a 5-year exit, we see that there is a prepayment penalty based on the outstanding loan balance. I'll go ahead and undo that. In that same regard, we also have a yield maintenance provision calculator. And so right now it's toggled to no, but if we toggle it to yes, and again, we'll change the payoff month to 60. Now we see that there is a yield maintenance penalty being calculated. And we see we have our supporting figures here, and we can input an equivalent yield. Moving on, we are looking at the loan summary now. And so we're able to input, of course, the loan balance. This model also does allow for either full interest only, partial interest only, or fully amortizing loans. So if there's an interest only period, let's say of 1 year, we see that the table updates accordingly. We can also change the loan term, the amortization period, the payoff month as discussed, and then we have some origination fees here. And then based on the aforementioned inputs, we also have our payment breakdowns here. So monthly payment, the annual payments, the interest only payment, the cumulative interest paid, the cumulative principal paid, the payoff amount, and then the lender APR. And then what I also wanted to add is because when working with sponsors, there's always a discussion of, well, what if we do a cash sweep? What if we do additional payments to pay down principal? We've also added in a column here where you can incorporate those assumptions. So let's say we're making an additional $100,000 payment in month 2. We see that that flows through the model and the principal is adjusted and based on that amount that we've inputted. We'll go ahead and undo that. We'll actually delete that 0. And so that's what we have. And that is the main model, or the main amortization table rather. And scrolling off to the right here, we have our 4 different outputs. So a variable interest rate calculation based on 30 over 360 interest calculation type. We have variable interest rate again based on actual over 360. We have fixed rate 30 over 360, and then fixed rate again actual over 360. So this way, instead of this model being a bit of a black box, you can always juxtapose the outputs here and see which terms make sense based on discussions with prospective lenders. And because we want to make this as polished as possible, we can always collapse this. We can still see the lender cash flow, and this will be ready to print. It may require some configuration just because of the sheer number of rows, but that could just be adjusted by changing the settings in print preview. which we have here. And so again, this is meant to be a tool that is investor ready, in this case, lender ready, and it will showcase to lenders that you understand, you're able to think from their perspective. As the lender APR is calculated here, you're able to make key considerations, or even if this document is used internally, you can use this to see which lending terms make the most sense and will be the most accretive to your deal, ultimately allowing you to employ positive leverage. But again, this video is meant to be quick. No need to dive into extreme detail. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and it's a great tool of adding additional insight into your leverage considerations for your real estate deal.